Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Crowder and I created this presentation for Dr. Mowry in accordance with the requirements of ECE 762. I conducted a research study looking at the emotional development of toddlers and the strategies caregivers utilize to support their development. Within this presentation, we will go into a brief look of the 5 chapters of the research study I conducted. First, we will go into an overview of the study by looking at the purpose of the study, the research questions, and the research study design. Next, we will look at the 3 aspects of the related literature: what toddlerhood is, what emotional development is, and the role adults play in the emotional development of toddlers. Chapter 3 covers the methodology of the study, including the site of the study, data collection procedures, and data analysis. Next, we will look at the results of the study based on the 4 research questions. Finally, we will review the discussion section by looking at a summary of the findings, trends in the results, and where future research needs to explore further. The first section explores the overview of the study by looking at the purpose of the study, identifying the research questions, and exploring the research study design. The purpose of this case study is to examine research and high-quality childcare program interactions to identify what is being done in the classroom to support a toddler's emotional development. By understanding what best practice in the research is, researchers will be entering the classroom and observing the techniques used by teachers to support their students. The research and development of best practice is only beneficial if it is being used and implemented in the classroom. High-quality centers will be utilized in the study to see what the best classrooms and centers are offering to their students. Through this study, the aim is to explore and discover 4 research questions. In what ways are teachers discussing emotions in the classroom? How many temper tantrums, meltdowns, and aggressive physical behaviors are seen in a typical day in the classroom? How do teachers respond to the above behaviors and tantrums? In what ways are teachers and members of management in the building relationships with children in their care? Over the course of the study, we will look to explore and answer these questions. By utilizing the knowledge of best practice from research, classrooms, and teachers will be observed to identify how they are implementing and utilizing the research in action and what that looks like across multiple classrooms observed. Partnerships will be made with high-quality childcare centers. This is determined by their Pass the Quality Level 4 rating and National Association for the Education of Young Children, or NAEYC, accreditation. 3 centers in 2 counties have agreed to participate in this research study pending IRB approval. Within these high-quality centers, observations will be conducted within their toddler classrooms with children 12 months old to 3 years old. Overall activities that identify emotions and emotional development of toddlers will be noted, as well as the way the caregivers interact with the children when they have behavioral issues and when they're identifying emotions and feelings. The next section will explore the related literature that supports this topic. This brief overview will explore the following questions: what is toddlerhood? What is emotional development? And what role do adults play in supporting children? Toddlerhood is a term used to describe the growth development in age from around 18 months to 3 years old. According to Abubakar, at 18 months old, a child begins to see themselves as their own individual person in the world. This will trigger an overall growth in the whole child's development, specifically cognitive and emotional development. During this time frame, children will also begin to develop their own view of themselves, both physically as well as emotionally. For instance, their self-recognition is tied to recognizing how they look in the mirror as well as how their emotions appear in the mirror, knowing that sadness is exhibited in pouting or crying, happiness is smiling and laughing, and so on. These basic identifications are the beginning of understanding emotions and how outside forces influence a toddler. As Abubakar explained, around 18 months, a toddler will begin to grow, beginning with the process of self-recognition. Once self-recognition has taken place, a toddler will then initiate the development of understanding themselves, the people around them, and the world they live in. Outside of the environmental, parental, and social influences, toddlers are exploring themselves and going through a period of great growth. While much overall growth is happening, there are 3 areas pinpointed to have a large influence on their emotional development: changes in their emotional behavior, changes in their understanding of others' feelings and intentions, and changes in their understanding of social rules. Additionally, Dunn and Munn continue to explain that a toddler's personal emotional behavior shifts to include them beginning to understand the feelings they have, typically have a reason, a name, and ways to handle it. They are noticing the changes in feelings of others and could have a response to their change in emotion. Toddlers will also notice that actions have intentions behind them in the actions and reactions of everyday routines. These children are also beginning to understand, apply, and explore social rules in their daily settings: home, childcare, and others. This time can be challenging for adults in a child's life because the behaviors seen with this learning and growth are often viewed as challenging, such as asking questions, challenging the rules, and pushing limits to see what is acceptable and what is not. Even if a toddler does have strong bonds with parents and their caregivers, a toddler will still experience internal emotional battles during this growth period. For example, the emotional regulation techniques toddlers need are critical in their emotional development. A research study explained that emotional regulation can be considered the ability to initiate, maintain, and regulate an emotional response to a stimulus, both positive and negative. At this age, a toddler's language development is not mature enough to have the words they need to explain the emotions their body is feeling. It is critical for adults to step in and model emotional regulation, as well as using developmentally appropriate language to explain to the toddler what they are feeling, why they are feeling it, and how to properly handle or deal with these feelings. A toddler may also begin to initiate comfort behaviors during times they are overwhelmed or frustrated. Comfort behaviors can be coached by adults through modeling and encouraging either self-directed comfort behaviors like laying down in a cozy corner, sucking their thumb, or playing with their hair, or other directed comfort behaviors such as seeking a trusted adult and physical contact with caregivers. This next section explores the methodology of this research study. We will look at the sites of the study, the data collection procedures, and how the data was analyzed. To have a diverse and solid study pool, this study took place across multiple centers in a suburban area in the Ohio Valley across 2 counties. Multiple toddler classrooms were partnered with to ensure a variety of teaching styles, experiences, and ages of children. The suburban community had a variety of socioeconomic levels. The 3 centers that participated in the research project have received Pass to Quality Level 4 and accreditation from NACCE. The centers serve CCDF, CACFP, and Child Care of America vouchers. There are also middle-class and middle-income families that do not have any type of financial assistance for their child care tuition. At the time of observation, each classroom had a child with special needs, behavior plans, or specific accommodations to support their unique needs of each child. Across the centers, there's a variety of religious beliefs, cultures, and backgrounds the children all identified with. The children observed were from 12 months and 1 day and walking confidently on their own up to 2 years and 11 months. The teachers were all at least 21 years of age with basic training of developmentally appropriate practice, child guidance, and child safety. There were approximately 40 children and 20 teachers in this study. Analyzing the behaviors, emotional development, specifically planned activities, and learning moments teachers build from to support the unique development of each child during the emotional mishaps, temper tantrums, and other moments. Observations were conducted in a classroom for 45 minutes at a time, avoiding nap time. Each classroom was observed 4 times at different times of day to get a holistic look at the toddler's day. I recorded emotional development activities within the classroom and any conversations the teachers had with each child about their emotions or scaffolding with their emotions. Throughout the visits, teachers, children, and staff were observed for their interactions to see different types of relationships they developed and were continuing to develop. Differences across the classrooms, children, and teachers were noted and shared to gather a complete look at what was happening within child care centers regarding emotional development. The data collected in the study was the specific negative externalizing behaviors that toddlers have and experience and how the teachers supported them through that behavior and experience. The data was the ways the teachers specifically implemented the support systems and materials in the classroom to help children gain knowledge about their emotions and how to handle those emotions. While observations took place, the researcher took running field notes documenting most of the occurrences within the classroom over the course of the observation time. The field notes were written to give a detailed account of what triggered the behavior, the child's behavior, the teacher's reaction to the behavior, and the time it took to recover. Upon completion of research, a chart was paired to utilize the field notes with the information from the chart to analyze what classrooms experienced negative externalizing behaviors, how many negative behaviors were experienced, and the way the teachers handled or did not handle the situation. By analyzing the behaviors for trends and learning about the thought process and experience from the teachers in their surveys, the researcher gained a perspective of what is happening in the toddler classroom that is helpful for a toddler's development and things that can be improved to better support the toddler's emotional development. Next, we will look at how the data in the study answered the 4 research questions. We will look at the evidence of discussing emotions in the classroom, behaviors that occurred within the toddler classrooms, the adult responses to the behaviors and tantrums, and building relationships within the child care center. Just a few examples will be provided from the pool that were collected. At the Kitty Cove Center, the Sweet Peas classroom was observed over 2 days with the same teachers and ratio over the course of both days. The teachers in this room used teachable moments to help their students recognize and identify their own emotions and the emotions around them. The teachers were intentionally implementing emotional identification skills into their curriculum by including it in their daily circle time curriculum. They were connecting the skills the children use every day to identify emotions by pushing the children to identify the emotions in unfamiliar books to make those connections. When the teachers pushed the children in this way, this gave them the ability and skill to identify emotions in others and come up with ways to support others' emotional expression. In the Galaxy classroom, Molly took a situation and pushed the child to think about what made the child cry, how they felt, and what the child could do to help the other child feel better from another room. Through utilization of the teachable moment, Molly connected the child with another child in another classroom and showed her student how to develop a relationship and care for others. Observations took place over 2 days with 4 separate observation sessions. Each session lasted approximately 45 minutes, with sessions taking place in early morning, late morning, early afternoon, and late afternoon. Each time a child experienced a tantrum or negative externalizing behavior, it was noted on the observation chart from Appendix C and detailed in the field notes by the researcher. This table shows the number of negative externalizing behaviors observed in each room. The chart shows a significant difference in what is happening across toddler classrooms and high-quality child care centers. There were 3 classrooms that showed very little behaviors from the students and 3 classrooms that showed many behaviors from their students over the course of 2 days of observations. In the teddy bears classrooms, Stacy dealt with an extended tantrum that lasted more than 6 minutes. She used calm words and explained the rules of the room, not deviating or giving in once a child began her tantrum. She continued to offer multiple choices for the child of a jacket or different room blanket she could use. Finally, when the child just needed to melt down, Stacy sat next to her, allowing her to get out her feelings and emotions. This action supports the child for them to know someone was there for them. When the child was ready, she crawled over to Stacy, who calmly reiterated the rules and routine and didn't punish her for becoming upset. Once the moment was over, she gave the child her choice of where to go, and the child was able to reintegrate and start playing with her friends. Within the Caterpillar's classroom, Keely supported her child's emotional development by responding to their needs and listening to them to figure out how to support them. Once Keely understood the issue that upset the child, she acted and then walked through with the child how to handle the situation using words so that everyone around her would know what was wrong. She showed her what words to use so that she could be understood more easily when compared to yelling or crying. In the Butterflies classroom, it was time to go outside to play. Alyssa was not rushed in getting the children dressed. She took the time to talk through each article of clothing and had conversations with the children while they were getting dressed. She finished the routine with a hug, which helped the child to feel she cared for them or were valued in her eyes. By praising the positive behaviors, it encouraged those behaviors, like listening, and showed the child that when they followed directions, it made their teachers happy. In the Voyagers classroom, there is a child who only speaks Spanish in the home and is learning English at school. By utilizing her knowledge of Spanish, Celeste helped the child to feel more comfortable and in the loop of what was happening as he learned English. She learned about the needs of the child in her care and acquired skills in order to support them. By using sign language, she exposed children to yet another language and way of communicating. If a child were to enroll who was deaf, they would immediately be included in classroom activities since she used sign language and the children were learning signs as well. She cared about meeting the needs of each individual and took steps to support them. In the final section, we will review a summary of the findings, trends that were found in the results, and where future research needs to be done in understanding the emotional development of young children. Through the partnership of 3 centers across 2 counties, data was collected to show what was happening in the highest rated classrooms for toddlers. There's evidence of teachers discussing and teaching about emotions, and examples of how they did this were evident in each center, but not each classroom. Each classroom exhibited children that had a tantrum or behavior during observations. We saw how the teachers reacted to those tantrums and supported the child to reset and reintegrate back into play once the tantrum was over. Finally, teachers at all centers, but not all classrooms, were working diligently with their time to develop relationships with the children in their care, as well as with parents and coworkers to make the environment a positive place for children to feel safe, wanted, and cared for during their time at school. This was done through interactions, conversations, and implementing specific support systems to help each child thrive and succeed in the classroom curriculum. Over the course of the observations, it was evident that there was a separation between the classrooms in terms of positive and negative classroom culture. 3 classrooms exhibited very few negative externalizing behaviors from the children. These 3 classrooms had protective factors in their favor to promote positivity in their room. The teachers in these classrooms were, for the most part, consistent, having the primary teachers in ratio for most of the day, with the same substitutes being utilized in order to provide consistency. The language the teachers in the Sweet Peas, Caterpillars, and Galaxy classrooms used were strong emotional identification and explanations. They also showed higher levels of engagement and play with the children by playing alongside them, sticking to the schedule of the classroom, and continuously developing relationships with their children to develop a sense of community and trust. The biggest negative factor the other 3 classrooms, the Butterflies, Teddy Bears, and Voyagers, had against them was the lack of consistent staff members being present across the days of observations. These classrooms had high rates of teachers, while others were staffed by substitutes who were unfamiliar with the classroom needs and routine. These staff members exhibited lower levels of meaningful interaction with the children through conversation and play. These 3 classrooms overall showed lower levels of guidance and less emotional support for the children when compared to the Sweet Peas, Caterpillars, or Galaxy classrooms who were performing at higher levels. Continuing to understand how we are supporting and caring for children during their toddler years is critical, and understanding how we can improve and provide the best care possible. Should future research follow this path, additional research needs to be conducted on the number of caregivers assigned to a classroom throughout the day. How does having multiple teachers in and out of the room impact the classroom culture and relationships with the children? More research needs to be done on this programming issue to understand why management is settling to allow numerous teachers piece together coverage on a daily basis for classrooms. By looking at the overall culture and programming of centers, we can create guidelines and regulations for how we need to care for children with a lens of keeping consistent full-time caregivers in the classroom. This was a really brief overview of the research study I conducted for ECE 771 and ECE 762. I really enjoyed comparing what research says was best practice and then going into the classrooms and seeing what was happening in high-quality centers. These references are the articles utilized in this presentation. Thanks for listening to this presentation, and let me know if you have any questions or comments in the discussion below.